Part 1. The Arrival. The rain came sideways across the Highlands that morning, driven by a wind that howled like something alive. Amelia Thorne, Millie, as she preferred, gripped the steering wheel of the borrowed Mini until her knuckles turned white. The narrow road wound like a scar through the heathered hills, flanked by stone walls and rusted fences. Every few seconds, lightning lit the grey sky, throwing the moors into sharp relief, dead barley fields, skeletal trees, and the dark outline of a house that loomed where the land dipped toward Loch Morar. She slowed as she reached the rusted gates. A sign half buried in moss read Blackthorn Manor in faded Gothic script. Beneath it, smaller letters carved into the iron, MacLeod Estate. The gates were locked with a chain thick enough to restrain a bear, but as she stopped the car, she noticed a small figure standing on the other side, motionless, waiting. The boy. He couldn't have been more than 5. He wore a wool coat several sizes too big, its collar turned up against the wind. His hair was the color of snow, fine and pale, and his eyes, those unsettling, icy blue eyes, never blinked. When she stepped out into the rain, her breath fogged instantly. "Rory," she called over the wind. He nodded once. Without speaking, he reached into his pocket and pulled out something small, a key, no longer than her thumb, carved from something that looked like ivory or bone. He passed it through the gap in the gate, his hand perfectly steady. "You're Amelia Thorne," he said softly. His accent was Highland, melodic but oddly flat, as if he were repeating a phrase he'd memorized. "Mum said you'd come." Millie forced a smile, taking the strange little key. It was surprisingly warm in her palm. "That's right," she said. "Your mum and dad are home?" He shook his head, eyes still fixed on hers. "They went to Inverness. Won't be back till late." Lightning cracked above the loch, and for a moment Millie could see the entire estate behind him, the manor's stone facade streaked black with rain, its windows like unblinking eyes. The boy spoke again. "Mum said, only open the doors when she's home." He hesitated, then added, "But you can come in." With that, the chain on the gate fell loose, as though someone had already undone it. Millie frowned. She hadn't seen him move. Inside the grounds, the air felt heavier, as if the fog itself were thicker within the walls. The path curved up toward the manor, slick with moss and puddles that reflected the grey sky. The building was older than she expected, late 18th century, maybe earlier, with gables that leaned inward and ivy choking the stone. The front door opened before she could knock. "Goodness," she murmured. Rory stood there again, though she hadn't seen him walk from the gate. The hallway behind him was dimly lit by a single flickering bulb, casting long shadows down a corridor lined with portraits. Every face in those paintings seemed to be watching. "Your parents said I'd find you here," Millie said as she stepped in, wiping her boots on the mat. "We'll stay inside until the storm passes, yes?" Rory only nodded and walked ahead, his small feet silent on the old wood floor. The house smelled of damp stone and something metallic, iron, maybe, or old blood. Millie tried to shake off the thought. The sitting room was large but underfurnished, save for a fireplace that hadn't been lit and a threadbare rug in the center. She noticed an old GoPro camera sitting on the mantel, its lens cracked but the light still blinking faintly. "You've got a camera there," she said, crouching to look at it. "Do you like making videos?" Rory tilted his head. "It's not mine. It's his." "Who's his?" The boy's eyes shifted toward the window, where the fog pressed against the glass. "The keykeeper." Millie froze. The word sent an odd chill up her spine. Before she could ask, thunder boomed overhead, shaking the walls. The lights flickered once, twice, then steadied again. Rory had already turned away, humming something tuneless under his breath. She followed him up the stairs to the nursery, a small room with peeling wallpaper patterned in faded moons and stars. A wooden rocking horse sat in the corner, one glass eye missing. On the bed lay a stuffed rabbit whose seams had been crudely stitched with black thread. Rory climbed onto the windowsill, looking out toward the barley fields. "They are dead," he said quietly. "The fields?" He nodded. "They've been dead for 45 years. Millie tried to laugh. That's longer than you've been alive. I know. He turned to her, expression unreadable. I remember. By late morning, the storm had worsened. Sheets of rain beat against the windows, and the wind moaned through the chimney. Millie went downstairs to boil water for tea, grateful for something mundane to do. The old kettle screamed like a wounded thing as it heated. When she came back with 2 cups, the nursery door was closed. Rory, she called. No answer. She set down the cups and turned the knob. Locked. Her heart gave a nervous flutter. She hadn't seen him lock it, and she hadn't heard the sound of a latch. She knocked gently. Rory? Are you all right in there? Nothing. She crouched, trying to peer through the keyhole, but it was stuffed with cloth. A faint scraping noise came from inside the walls, metal on stone, steady and deliberate, like a chain being pulled. Rory? The sound grew louder, circling beneath the floorboards. Then, silence. Millie felt the air shift behind her. She turned, half expecting to see the boy, but the hallway was empty. Only the old portrait stared back. Her breath quickened. She forced herself to think rationally. Children hide, that's what they do. It's a big house, he's playing games. But when she reached for her phone, she realized there was no signal. It was 11:18 when she found him again. Through the rain-streaked window, something bright caught her eye, movement far out in the barley field. She pressed closer, squinting through the downpour. There he was. Rory, standing in the middle of the dead field, about 200 meters from the house. The gate was still locked. How? She whispered. She ran to the back door, boots slapping the floor, flung it open, and stepped into the storm. Wind lashed her face as she stumbled toward the field, rain stinging her eyes. Her lungs burned by the time she reached him. He was holding a small camera, one of those rugged action GoPros. A red light blinked steadily on its side. The display showed something live streaming. Across the top of the screen, door number 7, live feed, 1024 viewers. What is this, Rory? She gasped. He didn't answer. His face was blank, his eyes too wide. Then, behind the fence, something moved. A tall figure, impossibly tall, emerged from the mist. Cloaked in oilskin, face hidden behind a mask of hammered iron. Chains hung from its belt, and from those chains dangled a cluster of rusted keys, each dripping red in the rain. Millie's blood ran cold. The thing, the keykeeper, lifted a hand, and the heavy gate creaked open by itself, the padlock falling soundlessly into the mud. Rory turned toward him. He's here, he said softly. He can open anything. And before she could react, the boy began to run. Millie screamed his name and chased after him, mud sucking at her boots. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the figure behind the gate, taller than any man, unmoving except for the keys that clinked softly in the storm. She tripped over something buried in the grass and fell hard, pain shooting through her arm. When she looked down, her stomach turned. A small shape lay half submerged in the mud. A girl, maybe 10 years old, her dress the color of dried blood. Around her neck hung a rusted tag that read, door number 3. Millie scrambled back, slipping in the muck. The GoPro had fallen beside the body, still recording, the lens pointed directly at her face. The red light blinked faster now. Somewhere, a counter ticked upward, 1,200 viewers. She looked up toward the manor, rain streaming from her hair, and whispered, "Oh God, what is this?" From the shadows beyond the gate, the keykeeper tilted his head. The sound of keys rang across the storm, like laughter. Part 2, the 13th door. The rain never stopped. By the time Millie dragged herself back to the manor, her soaked clothes clung to her skin like ice. The wind had blown open the front door, and the lights inside flickered weakly, struggling against the storm. She slammed the door behind her and leaned against it, gasping for breath. "Rory," she shouted, her voice breaking. "Rory, where are you?" No answer. The only sound was the storm clawing at the windows and the faint, rhythmic dripping somewhere in the house. Her pulse pounded in her ears. She scanned the hallway. The portraits looked different now. In the dim light, the eyes of every painted face seemed turned toward her, watching. Something metallic clinked beneath her feet. She looked down. The bone key Rory had given her lay on the floor, coated in mud. She didn't remember dropping it. A flash of lightning filled the hall, and in that brief illumination, she saw a wet trail of footprints leading deeper into the house. Small footprints. A child's. She followed them past the sitting room, through a door she hadn't noticed before. The footprints stopped at the edge of a large carpet in the center of the room. She crouched down, heart hammering, and pulled the fabric aside. Beneath the rug was a square wooden hatch. Old, weathered, marked with strange circular etchings carved deep into the surface. In the center, a keyhole. Her hands trembled as she held up the bone key. It slid in perfectly. The lock clicked. A cold breath of air rose from below, damp, ancient, and foul, like the lungs of something buried. She hesitated for only a moment, then lifted the hatch. A narrow stone staircase spiraled downward into darkness. "Rory," she whispered again. Nothing. She took the candle from the mantel, lit it with shaking fingers, and began to descend. The stairs seemed endless, each step slick with moss. The deeper she went, the colder it became, until she could see her breath fogging in the candlelight. Water dripped steadily from the ceiling, echoing off the stone. When she reached the bottom, the narrow passage opened into a wide chamber carved directly into the earth. Along the walls stood 13 heavy iron doors, numbered with brass plaques, 1 through 13. Rusted chains looped through their handles. The air was thick with decay. "Rory," she whispered again, her voice trembling. A whisper floated back, his voice, echoing softly, but from everywhere at once. "Down here." She turned, candlelight shaking across the stones. "Where are you?" The voice giggled faintly. "Door 7. Millie's candlelight flickered toward the door marked 7. Its chains were newer than the others, still oily, the metal clean. Something dark and wet pulled beneath it. The sound came again, faint breathing, then a low whimper. Her hand shook as she reached for the lock. The chains fell away easily, as if someone had undone them from the inside. The door creaked open, releasing a wave of cold air. Inside was a small stone cell, barely large enough for 2 people to stand. The smell hit her first, rot, iron, and something worse. And then she saw him. A boy, maybe 8 years old, sitting in the corner, knees drawn to his chest. His skin was grey, his lips stitched shut with black thread. His eyes darted toward her, pleading. "Oh God," Millie whispered. "No, no, no." She rushed forward, but stopped when she saw movement in the shadows, something glinting. A camera lens. A small red light blinked steadily from the far wall. It was another GoPro. She turned toward it, and her stomach dropped. The lens pointed straight at her. On the ground beneath it, an old phone screen glowed faintly, showing a live comment feed scrolling upward. She found door 7. "Oh my God. Run." Viewers. Thousands. The boy whimpered behind her, the sound muffled by his sewn mouth. Millie lunged toward the camera, snatched it from the wall, and hurled it against the stones. It shattered, the live stream cutting off instantly. The silence that followed was deafening. Then a sound echoed above her, the distant groan of metal grinding against stone. The hatch. Someone, or something, was closing it. Millie ran for the stairs, her candle flickering wildly. Halfway up, she stopped. Heavy footsteps echoed below. Slow, deliberate, dragging something across the floor. A chain. Then another sound, keys, clinking softly. She turned, pressing herself against the wall. The keykeeper stepped into view at the bottom of the stairs. He filled the passage completely, a figure of soaked oilskin and shadow. His face was a mask of corroded iron, welded shut, no mouth, no eyes, only holes that leaked a faint orange glow from within. In his left hand, he held a set of keys, 13 of them, each stained dark. The candlelight caught the wet surface of the iron mask. Steam rose faintly from it, like breath. Millie's voice barely left her throat. "Who are you?" The voice that came wasn't spoken, it vibrated through the air like metal against metal. "I keep what's been opened." She turned and fled down the corridor. The passage split into 2 tunnels. She sprinted blindly down the left one, her candle nearly extinguished. The walls seemed to close in, slick with moisture. Behind her, the sound of keys echoed rhythmically, clink, step, clink, step. Slow but unstoppable. She reached another door, unmarked this time. The bone key in her pocket burned against her leg. Without thinking, she jammed it into the keyhole. The door swung open to reveal a second chamber. This one was lined with shelves. Each shelf held a small iron box. Dozens of them. Each tagged with a number and a name etched into the lid. She picked one at random, door number 4, Elsie McRae, 1981. Her heart seized. Door number 3. The girl in the field. The lid wasn't locked. She lifted it. Inside lay a small skeleton hand curled around a metal key. She dropped the box and stumbled back. Footsteps again, closer now. The faint jingle of keys. And then a whisper, just behind her ear. "Door 13. Millie spun around. No one there. Only the echo of the words bouncing off the stone. She ran, candle extinguished, plunging the tunnel into near darkness. The only light came from above, a faint red flicker, like the glow of a dying ember. She followed it, gasping for breath, until she stumbled into another chamber. It was larger than the rest. At its center stood a table, and on it, an old laptop still humming, its screen filled with grainy video feeds. 13 camera windows. 12 were dark. One, the 7th, showed the boy she'd just seen, his stitched mouth trembling, his eyes glistening in fear. Millie reached toward the keyboard, hands shaking, when she noticed the 13th feed flicker to life. The image stabilized, showing her face in real time, wide-eyed and terrified. Then the comment feed started again. She found it. Door number 13. Look behind you. Her breath caught in her throat. She turned. The keykeeper stood in the doorway. This time, he moved faster, his arm swinging out, chains whipping through the air. Millie ducked, felt the wind of it graze her hair, and bolted toward the stairs. She climbed, tripping on the slick stones, every muscle screaming. The candle fell and shattered behind her. She burst out into the sitting room just as lightning flashed again. Smoke filled the air, the old rug burning where her candle had fallen. The smell of scorched wool and dust made her gag. The floor trembled. The manor groaned like a living thing. She staggered toward the front door, but it was sealed. The windows too, bolted from outside. The lights flickered wildly now, bulbs popping one by one. The GoPro on the mantel came alive again, its red light blinking. She could hear him below, the grinding of metal, the dragging of chains. Rory's voice echoed faintly through the vents. He's been waiting, Millie. For 45 years. He needs door 13. Millie looked around wildly. What are you talking about? What does that mean? You the key. She froze. On the wall opposite the fireplace, something glinted, a metal plaque she hadn't seen before. It had been hidden beneath a layer of soot. She wiped it clean with her sleeve, heart hammering. Door number 13, Amelia Thorne, 2001? Her birth date was correct. Thunder cracked directly above the roof, shaking dust from the rafters. From the staircase came the sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, impossibly heavy. Millie backed away, her mind racing. She grabbed the burning rug, flung it toward the staircase. Flames licked the banister, smoke filling the hall. Somewhere above, Rory's voice laughed and cried at once. "Too late," he whispered. "He's already opened it." The lights went out completely. Part 3, The 13th Key. The manor burned like a living thing. Smoke billowed through the corridors, thick and choking, turning the flickering hallway lights into faint orange halos. Millie staggered backward, arm over her mouth, coughing so hard she could taste blood. The wallpaper peeled and curled, the air filled with the crackle of dying wood. From somewhere upstairs came the metallic clang of chains. "Rory!" she screamed, voice hoarse. "Rory, come down! We have to get out!" But the only answer was the laughter, that same half-child, half-echoing sound that no longer belonged entirely to a boy. Her flashlight flickered weakly as she stumbled toward the staircase. Every shadow seemed to move. The eyes of the portraits gleamed through smoke. At the base of the stairs, she stopped. Footsteps descended. Slow. Heavy. Relentless. The keykeeper emerged through the smoke, his coat slick with rain, mask glowing faintly orange from the reflection of the fire. The keys in his left hand dripped black liquid that hissed when it hit the flames. He tilted his head, the movement jerky, unnatural. Millie stepped back, clutching the bone key. Her voice trembled. "What do you want from me?" The reply grated through the air, metal against metal. "A door must have a key. A key must have a soul." She realized then, the doors in the crypt weren't prison cells. They were locks. Each child wasn't a victim, but a seal. The 13th would complete whatever had been waiting beneath the manor for 45 years. And she was meant to open it. Millie turned and ran toward the kitchen. The keykeeper's footsteps followed, steady, unstoppable. Sparks rained from the ceiling as the fire devoured the beams above. She kicked open the back door, but iron chains crisscrossed it from outside. Padlocked. The windows, too, were sealed with bars welded long ago. The air tasted of metal and ash. She looked around wildly. The GoPro she had thrown earlier lay on the table, cracked but still blinking red, recording again. A faint digital hum came from the laptop beside it, displaying a dark web stream titled, Door Number 13, Live. Over 1,000 viewers. Comments scrolled rapidly. "She's still alive. He's behind her. This is it." "No," she whispered, snatching the GoPro. "No one's watching this." She hurled it into the flames. A scream tore through the static of the live stream, not human, not mechanical, something ancient. The manor itself seemed to shudder. The windows cracked outward, wind and rain exploding through the gaps. The fire surged higher, feeding on the storm. Millie ducked behind the kitchen counter, searching for anything, a weapon, a way out. Her hand brushed against something cold, a heavy iron rod, once part of the old stove. She gripped it tight, turned just as the keykeeper appeared in the doorway. The glow behind his mask pulsed with each step. He raised his arm. The chain in his hand hissed as it uncoiled, striking the wall beside her head and shattering the plaster. She swung the iron bar, catching him in the shoulder. The sound it made wasn't flesh, it was like hitting a metal drum. The impact sent vibrations through her bones. He barely flinched. Instead, he raised his other hand, revealing a key larger than the rest, its teeth jagged, its surface slick with something dark. "Door 13, he rasped. "Open." He lunged forward. Millie ducked again, the key striking the wall where her head had been. Sparks flew. She crawled under the counter, out through the narrow pantry door, and bolted into the hall. Smoke blinded her, flames closing in from both ends. She stumbled over the rug, or what was left of it. Beneath, the open hatch yawned like a wound. The firelight flickered down the staircase. She hesitated for half a second, then descended, coughing. The crypt was colder than before, the air thick with wet ash. Water dripped from the ceiling, hissing where it met the heat above. The iron doors gleamed faintly red from the fire's reflection. 12 were closed. 1, the 13th, stood ajar. Inside, something moved. "Rory," she called, stepping closer. "Are you there?" A small hand appeared on the threshold, pale and trembling. Rory crawled out, his face streaked with soot, his white hair clinging to his forehead. He looked up at her with those glassy blue eyes, but there was no fear in them. Only calm. "He's done waiting," the boy whispered. "He's coming through." "Rory, we have to go." He shook his head. "You already opened it." Behind him, in the cell, shadows began to shift. The walls seemed to breathe. A sound like grinding stone filled the chamber, deep and resonant, as if something massive turned beneath the floor. Millie pulled Rory to her chest and ran. The stairs above glowed orange now, the fire spreading down through the cracks. She could hear the keykeeper climbing after her, metal boots clanging on stone. Halfway up, the entire staircase shook. A thunderous crack split the air as the ceiling collapsed. She threw herself forward, shielding Rory as burning debris fell around them. The air filled with ash and screams. And then, is silence. When she opened her eyes, she was lying on cold grass. Rain fell hard against her face. The manor behind her was nothing but a pillar of black smoke and orange flame. Fire engines and police cars surrounded the property. Hands lifted her onto a stretcher. Voices shouted over the storm. "Miss, can you hear me?" What happened inside? She tried to speak but only coughed. "The boy," she gasped. "Rory, he's still." But when she turned, he was gone. Only the smoldering ruins remained. Hours later, dawn broke over Loch Morar. The rain had stopped, and a thin mist clung to the ground. Investigators combed through the debris, pulling twisted metal from the ash. One of them, a firefighter, found something at the center of what had been the sitting room. He called the others over. 13 iron keys, melted together by the heat into the shape of a heart. Nearby, half buried in the soot, lay a shattered GoPro. The lens cracked but intact. They placed it carefully into an evidence bag. Inside the hospital, Millie woke in a white room. Her arm was bandaged, her throat raw from smoke. A detective sat beside her bed, hat in hand. "Miss Thorne," he said gently, "you were lucky. The house collapsed 5 minutes after we pulled you out." She nodded faintly, eyes unfocused. "The boy, Rory, did you find him?" The detective exchanged a look with the nurse. "We found no trace of a child. Only you." She stared at the wall. The steady beeping of the heart monitor filled the silence. That night, as the hospital wing slept, a nurse doing rounds paused outside Millie's room. She frowned. The door was open a crack, though she'd sworn she'd closed it earlier. From inside came a faint clicking sound. Clink. 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 The nurse peered through the gap. Millie lay asleep, bathed in the pale glow of the heart monitor. But on the wall above her bed, a shadow moved, a child-sized silhouette tracing circles on the paint. Then, as the nurse watched, a message appeared, written slowly in condensation on the window. "See you next Halloween." The nurse gasped, dropping her clipboard. When she looked back, the shadow was gone. Only the faint metallic jingle of keys echoed down the corridor. 1 year later, a new livestream appeared on the dark web. The channel's name, Doors of Morar. Its thumbnail showed a still image, grainy, low resolution, but unmistakable. Millie Thorne asleep in a hospital bed. The title read, Door number 14, Waiting.